Welcome to Seasons of Life, a biblical perspective for how to navigate life's ups and downs. Do you feel overwhelmed? Or do you feel successful? Experiencing loss? This weekly 15-minute word of inspiration will motivate you to live with more wisdom and peace. Here is your host, Pastor Mercy Oduah.
I'm delighted to bring you another episode of Seasons of Life. Seasons of Life is a biblical way of dealing with your life challenges. Life seasons are regular occurrences, the good and the not so good. They work to bring about the will of God for your life at the end of the day. Yes, they work to bring the will of God in your life at the end of the day. What you will do is to discover ways of dealing with the seasons of your life so that you don't give up. I am here to empower you with spiritual support and guidance that will help you navigate the seasons of your life. I am sharing from my seasons of life experiences, hoping they benefit you. Kindly share on your platform. Kindly like and comment as well. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for liking. And thank you for commenting. Today, episode 71, we continue to explore God's and man's ways of dealing with the circumstances of life. In the last episode, we saw how deception played a role in God's divine purpose. Yes, from the story of Jacob, we saw how deception played a role in God's divine purpose for his life. It is important as a child of God for you to understand that God's ways and thoughts differ from your own way. Yes, it is important that you understand that there is a difference between the way you think and the way God thinks. When you fail to understand the difference, when you fail to comprehend God's ways and thoughts, you will live in bitterness, in confusion, in assumption, fear, and doubt. And that is not a healthy way to live. So when you understand God's ways and plans, you will begin now to see through the lenses of God and begin to analyze the circumstances of your life only through the lenses of God, not from your understanding or from your friends or people around you. And in that way, you will live with more peace and calm. I ask you a question. Do you know that some of the wrong directions and decisions you take are from the fact that you don't understand God's plans and thoughts? Oh yes, we are all victims. Why? Because the book of Isaiah 55 verse 9 describes God's ways and thought, how it differs from our own ways and thought. It says, "For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are God's thoughts and ways differ from us." Wow, can you believe that? The difference between your thoughts, my thoughts, our thought from that of God is compared to as the heaven higher than the earth. In other words, God is saying that his thoughts and our thoughts, that there is a massive gap. There is a huge gap between the way he thinks and the way we think. And that gap is compared as the heavens being higher than the earth. Woo! That is something to think about. That is something for you to think about. In other words, this verse is telling us that God is higher in the way he thinks, and that God is always ahead of us in his thinking. That is why another verse in the book of Isaiah chapter 46 verse 10 says that he knows our end from the beginning. God is the one that declares our end from the beginning. Can you believe that? God has already gone to our end from the beginning, which means while you were in your mother's womb, God has already gone to your end. And that is why it says that he is the one that declares the end from the beginning. This is really, really huge. When you have a problem and thinking about that problem, God has already provided a solution. Why? Because he is higher. He is always a step ahead of us in everything. Why? Because you think as human, and God is a spirit. And because he is a spirit, he is not limited by anything. We as human, we are limited in our thinking. But God is not limited in anything. He is all-knowing. He is all-seeing. So now, let us look at a biblical story that exemplifies the fact that God's ways and thoughts are different from yours. This Bible example will show you that when you think that something is meant for your destruction, think again, because it may mean that you are in the right order of God. The only thing is that you don't know the ways of God. You don't know the thoughts of God. So you begin to misunderstand what is going on in your life at that moment. When you think that someone is out to kill you or destroy you, or that what is happening in your life is strange, may I tell you that you, in most cases, are in the divine order of God. This story is taken from the last chapters of the book of Genesis, starting from chapter 37 to 50. I really want you to sit down and just listen to this and read this story. Enjoy the story. Very exciting. Very exciting. Because when you listen to this story, at the end of the day, you will know that something that looks destructive can really be the hand of God working. What happened? At the age of 17, the Lord gave Joseph a revelation of his life, a revelation, a dream of his greatness. And what happened? Out of excitement, out of love and ignorance, Joseph shared the dream with his brothers. And the brothers became jealous of Joseph, and they hated him because of the dream. Now, they planned to kill him. They secretly threw Joseph into a pit to die, but they later changed their mind because of their conscience because of blood. They now sold Joseph to an Ishmaelite trader as they were coming from Midianite to Egypt, as they were going to Egypt as traders. So they sold Joseph to this Ishmaelite trader for 20 shekels of their money. The Ishmaelite trader, on getting to Egypt, sold Joseph again to a man called Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officers. And now Joseph became a servant in Potiphar's house. Wow, that is quite a challenging journey. Now, while in Potiphar's house, the wife of Potiphar wanted to seduce Joseph, and Joseph ran away. She became offended and embarrassed and turned the story around, reporting that Joseph tried to rape her. The master Potiphar was very upset at Joseph and threw Joseph in prison. Wow, God, where are you? You may ask. While in prison, Joseph was known for interpreting dreams. He had a gift of interpretation of dreams. So he interpreted dreams for two of the king's officials that were in prison with him. And that dream came to pass. So they were released. One was killed and one was returned back to the king. And Joseph told him, when you go to the king, when you return to Pharaoh, please mention about me. But he did not. He forgot about Joseph. Wow, God, where are you? Now, in fullness of time, while Joseph was in prison, the Lord gave Pharaoh a dream that nobody could interpret in the land of Egypt. And now that officer remembered that Joseph was the one that interpreted his dream and told the king. Then the king ordered for Joseph to be released. Joseph was brought before Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and he interpreted the dream of the king accurately. And the king, Pharaoh, was very pleased with Joseph, and he made him second in command of his empire. Wow. In other words, Joseph became the prime minister. Can you see? Can you see the ways and thoughts of God? From the pit to slavery, from houseboy to prison, and from prison to palace. That is the plan of God. That is the ways of God. But I tell you, in the ways of man, if you are to analyze this story, you will say that Joseph was heading for destruction. But actually, Joseph was in the divine order of God. It was the divine order of God at work. And now, there was hunger in the land of Joseph, in Canaan, the land that he left, that made Joseph's family, the father and the brothers, they came down to Egypt looking for food. Lo and behold, it was their baby brother that was in charge, that was in command, and they bowed before Joseph. Which means that the dream of greatness, that the dream that the Lord showed Joseph, that the family will bow to him, came to pass. Wow. What is your takeaway from this story? God was at the end of this story and the beginning of it too. Yes. Even though God was the one that gave Joseph that dream, he allowed the good and the bad to happen so that his will come to pass. All the bad experiences were in divine order because his greatness was not in Canaan but in Egypt. In other words, when the brothers sold him as slave to Egypt, they really pushed him to his divine destiny. Can you believe that? That is so powerful. That is so powerful. So Joseph was in the divine order of God all along. What the brothers meant for evil, God turned it for good. And God knew the end from the beginning. And he did not stop all these challenges from happening. He allowed it because Joseph was heading according to his plan and purposes. Joseph would have doubted and would have given up, but these experiences help him to develop a character of patience, a character of perseverance, a character of love and forgiveness, because he forgave his brothers. So as I close, I want you to meditate on the book of Isaiah chapter 15, chapter 55, verse 9. Isaiah 55, verse 9. It says that your thoughts and your ways are different. And it is compared that as the heavens are higher above the earth, so are God's ways and thoughts higher than yours. May the Lord bless you, cause his face to shine upon you, and may the Lord continue to enable you to discover his ways and thoughts and plans in your life. Shalom, and see you next time.
Thank you for watching this episode of Seasons of Life. Until next time, be well, and may God bless you.